Hello everyone, nice to meet you again in our little studio, how we call it, brief room. And today we continue our stories about how and what we developing in our new project, Korea Il-2 series. And today in our studios again, Victor Sechnoi, our historical consultant and mission designer. And today we will talk about most legendary prop airplane in our project, F-51 Mustang. Hello, Victor.
Hey.
Hello. So let's start from the beginning. How this airplane have born? As we know, it have very long story.
Yeah.
Our project is about 52, 53, right? And its first flight was in 40.
In 1940, yeah. Basically, airplane was ordered by British Purchasing Commission. So it was designed for use for Royal Air Force. And as a start, North American was planned to work on P-40, so as a contractor to produce this airplane. But North American put its own project. It was NA-73. It was they showed much more new design, which with some new features, which such as laminar flow wing, new radiator design, which was later used Meredith effect. It's when hot air which came out from the radiator produced some additional thrust, and the radiator was put in the deep into the fuselage, so it produced much less drag. For the first, it was a variant which was powered by Allison engine 7010. It was used by RAF on the first stages of war, but the main problem was it was low altitude performance. It's like a high altitude performance engine. So British came out of the decision to power it with a Rolls-Royce engine. It was first Rolls-Royce engine 65, I think. It was two-stage engine which had very good performance as on low altitude and high altitude. So in October 1942, it was a prototype Mustang which powered by Rolls-Royce. It's called Mustang X. It showed extra very good performance increase. So American side was very pleased by results, and they saw the main difference between the Mustang X and later Mustang P-51B was its chin. So it was air duct for the carburetor and air intake. It was kind of fan under the nose. So when in the USA the designers decided to lower the wings, so they flattened the fuselage shape, so it's more aerodynamically correct. And I also put on the licensed production Packard engine based on, I think, if I'm correct, on Rolls-Royce 60 or 63. It was Packard V1670-3 first modification. Later came -7 modification. With Merlin engine, first it was B Mustangs with Razorbacks. They started to appear over the Europe in fall of 1943, and later teardrop modifications were introduced. It came to the front line around summer 44, and it was, as we now know it as P-51D. In Korea, it actually was used mostly later modifications like D25, D30, but mostly it was all Mustang modifications, which was modernize it with latest technical orders, which was introduced some kind of modifications by the which was introduced during the span life of airplane, and mostly it's a late modification airplane with accumulator. In case of it was modified from earlier P51 day, it was accumulator moved to the front in the engine bay after the fireproof bulkhead. Airplane was modified to carry IFF radio, SCR 695. Also, Korean Mustang was later upgraded with beacon range receiver BC 453, if I'm correct. Also, late Mustang were already supplied with gyroscopic gun sight K14. Later K14 was modified to K14B with some internal modifications, and as Korean modification was introduced K14C. It's basically K14B gun sight with ability to move mirror to different angles for the dive bombing on rocket sighting. As well as there was added modification with caging button for the gun sight, because when you were maneuvering, sharply maneuvering, gyroscope in the gun sight was moving very rapidly, and when you try to sight your target, it was took too much time to make gyroscope back
so
to the.
It was very oscillative, right?
Yes, oscillative. Yes. So pilot before entering the dive was pushing the button to cage the gun sight, then came into the attack with sighting targets, then release the button. So gun sight were better used for the ground attack in this case.
Mm-hmm. And actually, this gun sight have a fun story.
Yeah, it
because
was.
It's not originally it's not American invention, right?
Yeah, basically it came out of the British design. It's Ferranti MK2D gyroscopic gun sight. Later, American side just copied it in with some modifications, so it came as K14 gun sight. Also, MK11 was a Navy modification of same gun sight. Also, later modification as well as Korean modification was supplied with zero late racks for the 5-inch rockets. So basically, Mustang could carry 100,000 pound bombs and 6 rockets. Also, we will have as modification instead of bomb racks, you can carry up to 10 5-inch rockets under the wings. As well as some of the photos of Korean Mustang show that some of them later Mustang was supplied with tail warning radar INPS 13. Some of Korean Mustangs show that this tail warning radar antenna is still present, so we will have modification for put on this tail warning radar for as mod. So first will be as basic we will have K14B gun sight. K14C will be modification. Also tail warning radar will be modification, and you will able to put 10 rockets under the wings instead of 6 as basics. Well, that's it.
So if we talk about its weaponry, its armament. So previously in our previous talk about Shooting Star, you have noted that Shooting Star was equipped by M3 modification of Browning machine gun, 50 caliber machine guns. So the question is, was F51 equipped by these improved Brownings or not? Because as we know, M3 have much greater rate of fire.
Yeah, basically it's the same size M2 and M3 was the same size, but theoretically it was possible to replace M2 by M3, but we haven't found any proofs of that, and mostly it seems like M2 was used as main weapon. So I think it's because maybe of air cooling, because M3 was more prone to overheat because higher rate of fire, maybe just it didn't worth it as M2 was enough for the job it was doing.
So let's describe why Mustang is called as a legend, flying legend. Why it was famous and effective in the World War II episodes, and how these capabilities of airplane were used in Korean conflict.
Well, mostly it turned out after the Mustang was equipped with Merlin engine, later Packard. It's because of when United States Air Force started its strategic bombings of German territory. For the first time, fighters wasn't able to escort bombers through all the flight to the target and back home. So for the first, it was Lightnings, which was supplied with fuel tanks and Thunderbolts, but still it wasn't able to escort bombers through all the targets through very far position at industrial centers and targets. And when Mustang came out, first very good side of Mustang, it have quite big internal fuel tanks. It's around 300 gallons. It's 1,000 liters. And also with external fuel tanks, with internal fuel, it was able to fly around 800 miles range. And in case if equipped with droppable fuel tanks, it will increase to 1,400 miles. It's around 2,500 kilometers. So it was a escort fighter which was able to escort bombers through all the flight. And also, as well, when drop fuel tanks, it was able to withstand it against enemy airplanes. So,
to be fair, this range, more than 2,000 kilometers, is very comparable with the range of modern jet fighters. At least with range of third generation jet fighters, right? If you talk about MiG-21 or MiG-23, it have had even less range.
Well, and also as well, it was a good airplane overall. It's have a good ratio of wing carrier to weight, engine power to weight, so it was quite maneuverable. And when with less fuel, it was even more maneuverable. So pilots very like it very much. It's with time it started to replace Thunderbolts and Lightning in equipment of 8 Air Force because it was more suitable for its job. So Thunderbolt and Lightning was pushed to the ground work mostly. That's it. So it became more popular, more numbers, and used for escort bombers.
Yeah, but we know that there was some dialectical moment. Another side of this fuel capacity, so significant amount of fuel was stored in rear fuselage tank, which was located behind the cockpit. And when airplane was fully loaded by the fuel, it became tail heavy, unstable and heavy to control, and it was very hard to perform air combat when plane was just after takeoff.
Because of that additional fuel tank, it's for the first time it was even limited to fuel this tank up to the full. It was limited for 65 gallons, I think. Also, after the takeoff, pilot need to switch to this tank to empty it first. So when entered to combat, it was its center of gravity was okay with this tank empty.
So there was some tricks how to avoid these troubles, right? So
Another interesting detail about Mustang which can be told, it's still argued, but some people state that father of Mustang was, his name was, I forget, Edgar Schmuth. He actually was born in Germany before World War I and served in some time with Austro-Hungarian Air Force. Then he immigrated to the United States, became an engineer. So some people, he was the head of primarily design team. So it's a team which firstly describes and make kind of how airplane will look like. So maybe some people state that it's was a father of Mustang. Also interesting fact that later after the Mustang, he was the head of design team for the F-86 Sabre. It was same man.
So we know that Mustang father was was not American, and interesting thing that
he was American, but some German.
Interesting thing that the name of the airplane is not American too.
Yes, it was given by British when they received Mustang, so they give it Mustang. It's same story with Thunderbolt and Lightning, because in when they use it by between people in Army and the United States Air Force, Mustang was prone to call it Pony, Thunderbolt was called Jag, but so basically the true names as a Thunderbolt and Mustang came for the British, so it's kind of British tradition to name the airplanes with kind of nicknames.
Yeah, and now we all know this airplane as Mustang, right? So let's describe a little bit more about which differences have had Korean period Mustangs in compared to late war Mustangs.
Well, I little bit described it already. So it has accumulator moved forward to the engine bay. It have IFF radio.
And what this decision have improved in the airplane?
It's mostly about communications because if you talk about Korea theater operation, they added the beacon range receiver. So it's because of some mountains and problems with navigation. So pilot have to catch radio wave to move to the proper destination. So it's mostly about the radio, and that's it. It's mostly it's the same as Second World War, very late modifications. So also we will have in the great battles we have modifications for 150 octane fuel. We still didn't know if it was used in Korea, but I decided to leave this modification as modification. To keep this modification, yes. So you will be able to choose 150 grade fuel. But if you have any kind of information of fuel supplies to the Korea, please help us with that, because we don't know it was used or it was not used in Korean units. Well, so mostly Mustang was used as for the first, they was used combat patrols and ground attacks, because Mustang was less. It did need very good airfields for the jet airplanes, as well as if the specific of jet engine. It was very high fuel consumption on low altitudes. So Mustangs was able to came to the target a little orbit for some time to patrol and attack if needed for selected targets. It was more problematic for the jet airplanes, so they mostly was called as for the exact target. So they take off, hit the target, and came back. But Mustangs was able with a lot of internal fuel capacity and less fuel consumption as compared to jet airplanes. It was able to reach more distant targets in Korea and stay in air a little bit more time.
Yeah, so it was capable for doing more long-time combat patrols.
Yeah. So basically, in Korean units, it was used up to end of 1952. We plan to use it in our pilot career till the summer of 1952. So it's quite long combat history for this airplane.
Yeah, and if we talk about differences between airplanes in World War II and in Korea War, main difference between them is that airplane skin is very burnt out, right?
Yeah.
So let's talk about the development. So what is the difference between the model quality, visual model quality in Great Battles and in Korea? Because many tells that why you're trying to sell us the same plane again.
Yes. The question is about how airplane produced, because in case of 3D model of airplane, it's only 1/4, maybe 20% of a job done to make airplane, because airplane is also contains animations, damage modeling, airplane cropping, so the details when joints when airplane will broke.
Internal structure.
Also, we added much more detailed damage model, so it will have all internals which was prone to damage: engines, longerons, fuel tanks, machine guns also. So basically, which we have now, if compared to Great Battles model, first of all, it's much more upgraded with poly count. It's some details was tuned to look more closely to historical prototype. So basically, it's mostly new airplane, because with all things I told before, it's newly textured, as we have PyBar texturing. It's textured from scratch. It have new cockpit, because for the first we planned to use old cockpit with updates with some details, but it's turned out so that cockpit was done from scratch. It's much more detailed, have much more details in cockpit, added some small details which wasn't done in Great Battles, much more textures and so. So it's basically it's new model. It's not old which was used in Great Battles.
Yeah, and if we talk about cockpit, as we know, there was some tiny mistakes in Great Battles P-51 model. So which changes you can highlight as most interesting approaching to original?
Well, it's mostly noticeable. It's sunshield cover over the instrument panel. It's now we'll have much more closer look to the historical prototype.
You mean windshield?
Yeah, it's sunshield cover over the over the top of the instrument panel, as well as many. Most of the instruments is now much more detailed, have much polish. Some corrections was done for the side panels. So it's mostly more detailed, more textured, more correct. Have different gun sight attachment, because we have in Great Battles we have kind of field modification of earlier model. For the Korea, we have a late model gun sight attachment, which will have, as I've told before, K14B as basic, and we'll have a K14C as a modification.
Okay. So now let's switch to our next section. As always, we spent significant amount of our brief rooms to answer your question, guys. So I want to say much thank you that you are asking these questions. It's very pleasure for us to answer them. So let's start. Most of the questions we have answered during our talk, but some of them requiring additional describing. So first one is which ornament modifications and
Boost. Engine
and which maximum boost have had the Mustang in Korea War. So first part of the question about ornament and modifications we have answered already, but about the boost I think we can describe a little bit
Well,
more.
yeah, we talk about 150 octane fuel modification before. So basically we will have a 67-inch manifold pressure as basic. It's for 100 octane fuels, and I've decided to leave 150 octane modification. It will have 75-inch boost. And as I told before, if you have some information, if combat units was supplied with 150 octane fuel, please help us and provide it with it. But if it's not, you will use in pilot career 100 octane fuel. But in multiplayer, you will be able to use 150 as in great battles.
Okay. Second question is not easy one. Are we getting properly modeled API rounds in Korea?
Well, this question is mostly connected to the much more complicated question is damage modeling, because API is armor-pierced incendiary bullet, which is when hit the target, it have hit the target. It have incendiary effect on the target. So basically, target which you hit should know which kind of bullet hit it. So it's in case of its fuel tank, it should ignite if it was ignited by incendiary bullet. If it just hit by armor piercing bullet, it will just pierce the hole and fly further. In great battles, we have only two effects. It was armor piercing effect and high explosive effect. Some people try to mod things with the addition of the high explosive effect to the API round, but it's quite not really correct way, because in this case you will have 6 little cannons to destroy a plane. It's not really solve the problem with the ignition of the target. With the Korea, we will much more improve damage modeling with details. We will add incendiary effects for the object will be ignited, as well as incendiary and explosive combined effects to the parts of airplane. As I told before, damage model will be more detailed. So correct parts so let's say fuel tanks will more prone to ignite when hit by incendiary bullets. In case of will hit armored parts of airplane, it will more effective than armored bullets, and so on. So basically, it's not about only bullet, but the complex of damage model in bullet itself. And yes, IPI round will be added, as well as IP round. It's M20. It's armor piercing incendiary tracer round, and also M1 round. It's incendiary bullet, which it seems like in Korea it was used as like IPI IPIT and M1 incendiary.
Yeah, and actually while we have investigated this question about incendiary bullets, incendiary projectiles, we have realized that there was 2 major groups of these bullets. First one, armor-piercing incendiary. It have had its design was like bullet have had armor-piercing core hardened core, and in head of it, it have some load
Incendiary
of
compound.
incendiary compound. So when this bullet hits the surface, some kind of flash appears, and this flash, the product of this small explosion, fire up everything what is in radius of this small explosion. And the hardened core continue to penetrate the target just like any regular armor piercing bullet, without any super specific incendiary effect. So, and another type of incendiary bullets have had the core which with some kind of void inside of it, filled by incendiary compound too.
By tracer, yeah.
Yeah. So this core, when it penetrates the target, continue to fire up everything it's hit through its path.
Yeah.
So we will model both types of these incendiary projectiles, and you will see the difference how it affects the airplanes in the game. So, and as Victor has said before, it's very depends, and it's very combined with how detailed the damage model of airplane itself, because if engine have just one big box in collision model which called engine, then it's very hard to say how we should make incendiary effect on it. But if you have, for instance, oil pump on it, right? If you hit oil pump, you will fire up with oil in this pump, or it's just an example, but it's describes how it may happen. Also, if you have hydraulic systems in airplane, if you hit hydraulic actuator, or if you hit hydraulic liquid accumulator, it will fire up too, because hydro liquid is usually how to say flammable. Yeah.
And also, as a supplementary feature, we will add presets of the belt. It will be not like of you will add custom belts, because it will affect on the multiplayer as its main problem, because it will add too much of unique belts. But we will try to add kind of variations of standard belts. It's maybe 5 or 6 variants, which with most popular belting of the ammunition. So basically, you're able to choose more armor piercing in your belt, more incendiary bullets with tracers, without tracers, and as well we will check out our users' expectations and inputs about these belts, and maybe we will change and add make some additions by people input about it. That's it.
Yeah, so let's switch to next. And one major addition when we talk about these belt variants, when we talk about these damage improvements, when we talk about these incendiary rounds, we talk not only about Mustang itself, but it will affect all airplane settings in.
That's for airplanes, yes.
So next
By the way,
question.
I will add a little bit questions about ammunition. We already know that M8, M20, and M1 ammunition was used in Korea, but there was some kind of special ammunition which was designed late on the war, but it's still unknown. Was it used operational or not? It was shortened bullet with a much higher speed. It was IPIT T49 and incendiary M23. It's also known as T48. And if you maybe know some information, maybe ammo supplies to the Air Force units or something, about types of ammunition supplet, please provide if you have some information that will help us. Maybe we will add some this kind of special ammunition because it was much higher muzzle speed. I think it was much more, 500 feet or more in speed. But it's still unknown. It was used or it was not.
So the next question. Any chance for most crazy modification of P-51 F-82?
Twin Mustang, yeah. It was used on the first stages of the war because Twin Mustangs was stationed in South Korea, and they actually Twin Mustang was have a first air kill in the Korean War. They shot down Yak-9, I think. But as about Twin Mustang itself, it was very few of them, and they are mostly after the first stages. They was used as night fighters. They chased the U-2s airplanes, which was bombed at night. So basically, not for the moment, because we have much more needed airplanes. Let's say for Skyraider AD4. So maybe
plus deck-based
airplanes. It's like Sioux Fury, which we talked about. By the way, if you have something interesting about Skyraider, please contact us and drop us information, because maybe cockpit photos, some technical information, specific performance specific specifications and such. Because I think Skyraider is mostly next next airplane to add, same as Sea Fury maybe.
So what are advancements in flight modeling from great battles Mustang to Korea?
I mean, which is the difference? It's basically, I think it's when Roman will talk about flight model.
Our lead engineer.
But mostly it's about much more detailed, as we have much more time to, and actually P-51 was kind of prototype for the Korean War airplanes in our project. So it's much more detailed performance. It's maybe some kind of yaw advertising yaw effects on airplane will be much more correct. Stall characteristics maybe will be tuned much more closer to the prototype. So it's just about closer to prototype, but others some kind of new features. Maybe Roman will talk later about it.
Yeah, and one of the general differences or new features, it's not only about Mustang but about all airplanes, is about how the response of your gaming stick is connected to moving of control stick inside the cockpit. So as we know, in great battles we have had realization when on high speed, when force load on the control stick becomes too high, we changing how much control stick in cockpit is declined on the same amount of input of your joystick on the table. So on high speed you need to move your joystick more to decline control sticks for the same angle. It provides two positive effects. First of all, it's the way to realize realization of this force load limit on the control stick, right? Because you just can't move your control stick in cockpit too far. And the second bonus is that while on high speed, airplane become very, how to say, очень острый на реакцию.
Sharp on reaction.
Yeah, it become have very
Sharp on controls.
it become to have very sharp control on short inputs from your control stick. So, but it's very good for deck table variants of joystick, but not good for long sticks. Which more and more presented in our community. So in the new project, we realizing two optional types of airplane control.
So user will be able to choose which one he liked best, which we have in Great Battles right now, or it's gonna be like an straight implementation of input. So it's going to be like you move your stick, and in the cockpit you will be moved in the same amount. So in case of a new realization, it will be like you will move your stick mostly around center position. Maybe some people will like it, maybe not, but you will be able to choose it if you like it. So we will see what people will say about it.
Yeah, and it's become more actual because, as we know, recently we announced several long sticks force feedback devices, right?
Yeah.
For which this feature is very important. Also, there will be built-in response curves. Optional, of course.
For each airplane will be individual response curve, which you will able to tune.
Yeah. So let's switch to maybe last question, because we have already spent more than 40 minutes. Are the engine timers making a return, or is a more complex system intended to be modeled? Many players were not big fans of engine timers in Battle of Series. Very sharp question.
So basically it's an old question, and I know where it came from, but let's say for the moment we use very straight and let's say simple model. So if there is kind of limits in the flight instructions about airplane, it will have kind of a timer limit for the engine use on the maximum performance on VAR emergency ratings, yes. And we have also additional kind of random timer, which let's say in kind of 109 engine, you will have 1 minute, and maybe also 1 minute, maybe 2 minutes or 3 minutes sometimes. So engine will be broken. In case of a different approach, it will be add more kind of complication model and also more questions, because some people say for the moment, let's say we will cancel this timers at all and will put limits out. So our engines will be able to work on the maximum regimes as long as they can. But we should understand that with this feature will work for all airplanes. So kind of, let's say, LA5 FN will work on the Forsage for as long as he can as your Messerschmitt 2. Because I think some people will say this LA5 should broke its spark plugs and its power should not be able to keep up. But it's in case of my Messerschmitt, it's not. No, guys, it's no. It will work in both ways. So in case of we will cancel these limitations, it will cancel it for all airplanes. It's the main problem about it. So in case of Korea, we will work on a much more complicated engine damage model. And for the moment, it's still not very clear how it will be turned out. But in plans if to improve this feature, and let's hope we will succeed with it, because as I said before, it's going to be more complicated, and it will bring even more questions, because visible border of your problem, right? In case of more complicated model, you will sometimes your engine will just broke and you know why. You don't know why. So it's kind of Pandora box here about this feature.
Yeah. So idea is that we have already spent 12 years for developing of great battles, and during these 12 years we have received more and more information about how actually what is actually causing these limits. In some cases this may be cylinders scratches because of overheating. In some cases it may be troubles with клапана.
Valves, engine valve.
With engine valves cover, which become to disattach from them.
Because of corrosion.
Yeah, because of corrosion. Sometimes it's trouble with superchargers. So idea is to make these limits less common for airplanes and more representing the specific of each airplane specifically. So I don't know what will be final result, because the best person to discuss this about is Roman. He will be here. But in the general idea is looks like that. So I think that's it for today. Thank you for watching, and please ask your questions in form which we'll provide a bit later, because we very like to read and answer your question. You see that we spent more than the half of our brief rooms to answer your questions. So subscribe, set your like, and Victor, thank you. Goodbye.
Till next time.